So, Happy New Year. Wow, it's like halfway through January and I have missed you. I've missed my time with you. It has been a great way to start the year. I just finished Charles and Michael's invitation. They are getting married at a former grow house. It was also a brothel on Skid Row. And it's like, this place has so much character, and I can't wait to show you the invitation. The wedding is next month. We sent out the invitations already. As soon as the wedding is over, I'll show you the invitation. It's not cool for me to show all the details before the wedding. Also, like, not cool for you to know when and where exactly before the wedding. I don't want any of you crashing Charles and Michael's wedding. So after the wedding, I've got a video for you about the process of that. It was sticky and crazy and a very long process to do this, but one of my favorite invitations I've ever made. We actually used FedEx labels as the calligraphy, and I think it came out awesome. I cannot wait to show you. I was talking with my friend Shira yesterday. We were talking because she was my entree into this thing on Instagram where a bunch of wedding professionals get together under the hashtag Sweat Squad. Sweat Squad. Man, that's harder to say than it is to type. And I have not used the hashtag or sweat in any meaningful way in a while. And she checked in just to make sure everything was cool. And that's what that group's for, accountability. And she and I got to talking for a few minutes about how, particularly in the new year, I am working on building routines. 2020 is the year of routines for me. I'm saying it here now. And there's a reason why, and it wasn't until I actually typed it in a message to Shira yesterday that it all started to make sense for me. I played music my whole childhood. I was always kind of a creative kid. I was never as creative as like the cool creative kids. I was just kind of on the periphery. And I think like a lot of people my age, in a lot of ways, we weren't necessarily taught to learn as much as taught to the test or taught to, how to hustle school. I did really great in school, but I don't feel like I learned a lot. And I certainly didn't learn how to learn very well. And along with that, I also suffered under the false assumption that creative work had to be messy. Now, I'm not going to say that. Right now, I have no problem not being the most organized person. Like, the studio is a little bit chaotic. I'm sitting here now in front of the gold wall because I'll be moving my desk up here soon. So I moved the presses apart and made some space kind of in the heart of production. And as I say that, I wonder if that's the best idea. Anyway, but creative work was like always this thing that you do because, we wait for the muse to show up and you do all this. Now, I've read all the books. James Victoria is a friend and mentor of mine, and he's been saying this for years. And pretty much everyone that talks about creativity talks about how you can't wait for the muse. You have to practice your work. And people will say it in different ways, but ultimately the way I view it is you have to practice the act of creation so that when the muse strikes, you are ready. I don't think the muse always shows up, and I don't think that you can always create great work without some sense of inspiration, but you have to be in the habit of practicing the work so when the inspiration hits, you're ready to strike. And so I have been practicing routines, making a cup of coffee. By the way, my Ember mug that my wife got me for Christmas, it glows. There it is. It glows and tells you when the temperature is right. And holy cow, it's awesome. Go get one. Making coffee is the very first thing I do when I walk in the studio every morning. It is not necessarily the act of drinking coffee that does the thing for me. Like, I'm not a huge caffeine fiend. I love the ritual of coffee. And what I've discovered is that over the last couple weeks of every morning walking in and doing what you just saw, I am setting myself up for a day of work, a day of production or a day of creative work. I am setting myself up mentally to be in this space doing this work. Where my mind is in other places, focused on other things, it's here to do the work. I have a routine in the morning at home that is meant to set me up for a better day. So I am no longer going to be waiting for the muse. I am going to be diligently working, prepared for her arrival whenever she shows up. So I know that you guys love seeing press videos and all that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you, I have literally recorded 4 or 5 videos between the last one you've seen and this one. And for one reason or another, none of them made it. In one video, I got fired from a job. And I probably won't talk fully about that. I was actually sponsoring an event. And the long and short of it is that process, I did not take control of that process. I did not apply the same process I use with my clients to this process with people in this particular nonprofit, and left a space where things just didn't go well. And subsequently, I was fired. They asked me to come back, but it was, at that point, I just didn't have the capacity to do it. I have a whole thing about that you probably will never see. I have a couple production videos that, for one reason or another, it has been a crazy season, but we are through that. We are into the good work of 2020. So Charles and Michael's wedding is coming up. We're going to talk this week about their day of stationery. I am working on the brand work for Storybox Cinema, a client of mine who I did his logo, and we're doing some print work for him. I can't wait to put that logo in actual print. We're putting it in foil stamping. We're putting it in letterpress. We're embossing it. We're doing all sorts of stuff with it. I'm also working on the brand work for the Lake Como wedding planner. Rachel Berthesel and her team have an awesome new logo that I caught like little glimpses of in some Insta stories and some other stuff. They haven't fully launched the new brand yet, so we are going to help them launch that new brand in the winter. And so I'm working on that right now too. I'm also prepping for, I don't think I've ever shown you, I have 3 presses that you have seen. I have a foil stamping Kluge, I have my Heidelberg windmill, and I have a very old inking Kluge that is big, 12 by 18. Not recently. Over a year ago, I purchased a 10 by 15 Kluge. It's the same size as the windmill, just functions differently, and is far newer than my other Kluges. Purchased that for very little money and had to ship it across the country, which actually cost more than the press did. That is going to get on the floor, off the pallet, on the floor, and ready to print very soon. And so there's a lot going on in the studio that I can't wait to share with you. But I will first take a moment to call through some of the footage that I have taken over the last few weeks and share with you some gratuitous printing videos. And now that we're back, thank you. It is so awesome that you have come along for this ride with me. I hope that you subscribe, hit like, ring the notification bell. There's a really good chance you won't see these videos if you don't do that. And I want to thank my patrons who you'll see listed here, especially Torsten Jansky, who was the very first. Thank you so much for being a part of supporting this. If you would like to support the videos of Afine Press, you can go to patreon.com/afinepress and support that work there. I want to make better videos for you in 2020. I won't set a quantity goal, but I will set a quality goal. And that quality goal, honestly, is mostly about telling you better stories. The production may not always be what I want it to be. I think telling you the story is way more important. I can't wait to tell you the story of meeting and loving Charles and Michael and creating an invitation for them that I am so incredibly proud of, and the work that Pri and their wedding planner is doing to make that venue just, oh my goodness, I cannot wait. The phrase, a strict adherence to continuity, was used. That was a first for me, and I am super excited to share all of that with you. In the meantime, do all those things, and I will see you next time.